certain about. It starts at 100%, you can do that for a while. Then you get down to like 99, you're like, yeah, I'll keep writing 99%, that's pretty good. Then you start getting to the 90s or the 80s, and you're like, well, I could keep writing, but I'm only about 80% sure about this stuff. And you have to kind of find that balance between omission. There's sins of commission and sins of omission. If you leave out important things, you lose grades. If you put in false things, you lose grades. So you lose points. So that's the trade-off. Yeah, Hajar.
Do we need a conclusion?
Don't write a paragraph restating what you already wrote.
So,
Patrick?
Just a quick question for the multiple choice short answer. How many of each do you think there will be?
How many were there on the last exam? Take the number on the last exam and multiply it by 1.3.
So 12?
Exactly.
a random number.
Actually, I don't remember how many there were on.
There's 5.
There's 5?
Oh, was there?
Wait, what is he asking? Just short answer.
What's a third of 5?
Correct.
Like 7.
5 divided by 3.7. Okay, so there will be 6.7. No, there will be like 10-ish.
10-ish of each?
10-ish multiple choice. And then for the short answer, there was 2 last time. I'll probably do 3 to 4, depending on how long I think they'll take. You guys, everyone had ample time last time. I try not to make my exams time constrained. I do recommend getting your essays well written before you go back and worry about whether or not you did the multiple choice or the short answer perfectly. You might even want to write your essays first. That's an option. But don't spend a lot of time on the multiple choice and short answer until you're sure that your essays are nice and done.
What's an example short answer question was asked?
I would give you a piece of text, maybe.
Okay.
So maybe I would give you an important passage from Locke or something. Maybe it would be section 57, and I would say, tell me what this means, or relate this to Rousseau, or something like that.
On the last one, there was game theory, and since we're not doing
I'm not going to do any game theory this time.
But like, what's gonna like replace that? Is it gonna be all like kind of
It'd be
interpreting
like,
text, or-
give Rousseau's 3 types of liberty.
I feel like I should have one.
Yeah, things that are really overt on the PowerPoints that I went over a bunch of times are good short answer questions. Definitions are good, right?
Okay.
What does Locke mean by property? That'd be a good short answer question, right? There's a wide view, there's a wide and a narrow. Maybe I would say give the wide and narrow understanding of property in Locke. Okay. Anything else? Still no questions. Should we talk about B?
Yes.
Yes.
Want to talk about B? Okay. What the heck does Rousseau mean by the general will? This was like, we went over this for like 4 lectures, right? So there's a lot to work with here. And it's pretty current, right? So we probably shouldn't even spend too much time reviewing this because this is pretty recent. But let's just take a look. I don't know. We probably did it in lecture 26. No. Well, actually we probably did. So, oh, here's the different kinds of liberty, if you're wondering. So here's
This makes sense.
the diagram that should pop into your head when you think about the general will, as we talked about it. Right, first individuals go through a process where they try to be unbiased. Then they combine their unbiased visions of the general will into an aggregation, some sort of vote. And what emerges from that vote is the general will. We have a lot of quotes backing this up, drawing out these features. Here's 6 key features of the general will. This would be a really good one to know for that essay prompt. And then here's the statement that we actually ended up coming to. This would be a nice, concise way of putting it. There's other ways. Some of you in your papers that I was looking over had really nice ways of describing the general will that are a little different from this, but sort of are accurate. They capture all of these 6 things, or some of the 6 things, without contradicting any. So that's what I'd look at there. Any questions on that? I think this is laid out so well textually in the PowerPoints that it's not worth talking through.
Are these posted?
Yeah. C, what about C? We read two secondary sources discussing Rousseau's political theory. Who were these sources? Compare and contrast their interpretations of Rousseau. Okay, this will be a fun one.
Summarize the last 3 PowerPoints.
Yeah. No, because, so basically with this one, you wouldn't need to tell me everything about their interpretations, right? You'd need to say basically, here's a few things that they say positively, here's a few features of their interpretations, and here's how they differ. 1 or 2 ways in which they differ. And that would be really good. That would show me that you read and understood what these guys are talking about. Any ideas on this one?
Wait, is it G?
C.
C, okay, so.
Yeah.
So did Rousseau influence the theory of justice?
Yeah.
So that in that way, and then, so Rawls is kind of, he likes Rousseau, remember then, from that quote you showed us like 5 times, he said Rousseau is a huge, huge problem.
Yeah. That's right. So I want to be looking for more than that. Like I want to
No,
know
I know,
why.
I just don't have like quotes.
Yeah, yeah.
in my head.
Yeah, I want to know why. So, in Rawls's view, the general will is the will of individuals, right? This is a thing we kind of looked at and we thought was sort of problematic based on Rousseau's text. Whereas Berlin has that quote where he says the general will is the will of some thing that's called the state, that's some super entity that's over and above the individual. The individual sinks his personality into it only to find it again in the state. And Berlin's kind of like, I don't even really know what this state is. And it looks like it's just an excuse to push around individuals. So that would be a major difference. What about positivity? They say a lot of things. So I guess that was 2 positive views in ways in which they differ, right? I listed 6 main points from Berlin in the last PowerPoint. And I don't exactly remember which ones I singled out, but those would be a good place to start in the study. Rawls talks about justice as a general will as a perspective or a point of view on justice, which obviously is extremely Rawlsian, because that's what the original position is all about. It's getting a point of view on what justice is. So he's reading his own philosophy into Rousseau a little bit. Which is fine, because I think it helps us to understand what Rousseau might have been getting at or groping towards. Okay. Any questions on that? Or move on? Yeah.
Just a quick question. The PowerPoints, like all the quizzes are in there, do they have the answers in there, or do we have to like just kind of double back?
Some of them do and some of them don't. Yeah. Email me or ask someone else in the class if you don't know the answer to one of them.
Okay.
Also, they're like, I tried to make the quizzes so that the answer is easily findable in the text. So you should be able to review the text and find the answer without too much difficulty for all the quiz questions. It was like, I would be reading the text and I'd be thinking, all right, what's the most straightforward thing that I can ask that's unambiguous? Which became harder with Rousseau. But like, that was the idea of the reading quiz. Okay, property and Locke. We should spend time talking about Locke because we haven't covered him for a while. So I asked 2 things about property. First, how do you acquire property? And second, what's the role that property plays in this idea that he has about tacit consent? Caleb.
I believe it's you acquire property by mixing your labor with natural resources under Locke. And then the role property plays, a notion of tacit consent is that if you own property within like a government, you're pretty much consenting to obey that government's rules because that's the only reason that you can own that property.
Yeah, so when the original contract was signed, property owners came together to protect their property. And what they said was, I turn over certain rights to this property to the government. And now, to own this property, there's a lien on the property, or there's some sort of condition annexed to its ownership. This condition is obedience to the government and payment of reasonable taxes. And so when I pass this property on, or when anyone uses this property in any capacity, they're accepting the conditions annexed to it from the original contract. And that means that they have consented by using this property, even by just walking along the street, to obey the government. So it's fully consensual. With regard to the mixing argument, I would be so sad if everyone walked away from this class thinking the way that, like, Locke's account of the just acquisition of property was just about mixing your labor because you own it with something you don't own, and that's the whole story. Because that's a really bad argument, and that's the way it was presented to me when I first learned about Locke, and I was confused for many years about why Locke would make such a bad argument. The key to understanding the strength of Locke's argument is the proviso. Who remembers the proviso? Leah?
Well, I mean, this isn't part of the proviso, but it has to be unowned. But the property has to be, whatever you want to acquire has to be unowned. And then, oh my God, just had it.
Hajar's throwing a lifeline.
Leave as much interest as good for others.
Yes, okay, so there's two parts to the proviso. Leon's completely right that it has to be unowned. That's not actually part of the proviso. That is part of the mixing argument, though. If you mix it with something that's owned, that doesn't confer any property, right? Because then it's just something you own mixed with something someone else already owned. So there's no acquisition there. But the proviso has two parts. The first part is enough and is good for others. Did anyone remember the second part? I didn't emphasize it as much, and it's not as important. But yeah, Jar.
It has to be used like productively? Like you have to use it in order to like.
That's really close. That's almost right, yeah.
No spoilage?
Non-spoilage, exactly. Yep. And that's why money is so important in the account. Money makes it so that you can acquire property without it spoiling. It also means you can satisfy the first part, because by owning a certain plot of land, if you make it productive enough and you put those goods into market for exchange, you actually might reduce the costs, make other people's lives better, even though you acquired and privatized. So Locke's argument only really is powerful or makes sense with these provisos. So that would be, I would need to see some of that in these answers. So we covered both parts, okay?